Are we live? Are we live? Are we live? Looks like we might be live. Could be live. Might be live. Okay, it looks like we are live. We are live recording from Arlington, Vermont. My name is Mr. Katie, and I am sharing hobbies that make me happy. And we're still with the model train set up at this point. And let's switch over to cameras. We are still doing the best with working on the roof on the covered bridge. It's been slow going because I don't have the appropriate clamps. My clamps are not long enough that what I need. So instead of being able to do all the shingles all at once, I'm doing it slowly, one row at a time. Because once you add the glue has a tendency to cause the shingles to warp, curl up extreme, which is annoying. But that's one of the things of, unfortunately, when you come across some things, is that sometimes it just doesn't go quickly. There was don't know of an easier way to make it go faster. So it's basically doing a row and then letting it dry. Oh, there we are. Yeah, the thing is that it looks so easy when they do it on the video and how simple and easy it goes together, but apparently when you have different tools, that is not the case. Well, hello, Mike B. Thank you for joining me this evening. And I think I'm only going to be able to get like a row or two before things start curling up. Try to be a little bit fast about it. This side didn't come as nice and straight on this end. This side didn't come straight that way, so it's one of those things of having to figure out exactly which way I want this to go. All right. Snap that off. Hello, rail artist. Thank you for coming. It's nice that some people are starting to become, like, I guess, the regulars, I guess. Which is a good thing. You might be able to get 2 rows. Yeah, Marine for Hunter Valley, when they were putting this together, they had clamps that were long enough to actually hold that in, which I unfortunately do not have. As you can see, these things are starting to expand and pull out. If I do this kit again, I'm thinking of maybe instead of using glue, using double-sided tape and go that direction. I think that would keep things a little bit quicker, and well, hello there, Anthony. Thank you for stopping in. I might have spoken too soon. I said might be able to get more than one row in before things started curling. It does not look like that's going to be the case. Let's see if I can snag at least 2 more rows in here. And it even looks like on the lower row, one of the lower rows is actually coming back up. But let's throw this down before it fills up too much. And I'm thinking that this is not going to go as planned. Throw a weight on it. And let that dry theoretically in place. But while that's drying, I wound up going to an historical historical society's meeting in Albany, New York. It was for the New York Central, which I'm more of a fan of the Delaware and Hudson, but I decided to go anyway because it did interchange with it, and also the New York Central owned or controlled the Rutland Railroad for a while, which is the predecessor of the Vermont Railway, which is, I want to say, yards away from my house. And I didn't really pick up any equipment there. But I did pick up equipment and stuff from a hobby shop that is about an hour and a half away. I told him because of gas prices and all that, I probably will not be showing up that much anymore. But I did wind up getting 2 locomotives from them. One is this very pretty looking Hinkley locomotive. Looks like a poster mold, but it's unbranded. But it does show 2 traction tires, which is sort of kind of annoying, but the thing is, eventually that's going to wind up being changed. One interesting thing about this model, the drive shaft it's tender driven. Drive shaft takes a very short, deep nosedive to drive the main drivers. You can see that originally, the original mold actually had the driven gear in the back, which I do have some that have the drive in the back. But I mean, it's really nice, pretty, and colorful, and all that. Unfortunately, this was, I guess, set up as an oil burner, which I will have to find a way to convert her over to wood, because this looks a little bit very on the pretty side. And usually when I buying locomotives now, I'm more buying them for parts, because they're not these are not made anymore. And one of the interesting things I came across, though, this was actually this is pre-owned. You can tell that this is weathered. It's been relettered for Lehigh Valley. It's got some extra details on it that other ones don't have, like a realistic coal load. But the interesting thing is that this, I came across a new YouTube channel, and they're actually talking about, taking one of these, which was never out. It was still sealed in the package. But the packaging was pretty much very, the cardboard was falling apart, and the cab had a slight dent in it, and so the guy turned around and it's like, he was sort of kind of debating, do I, leave it in the box or take it apart? And he turned around and it's like, well, it's not in pristine condition and all that, so the collectors, theoretically, the collectors would not be too bad at it, or too mad, because it was already damaged and all. And then after watching that YouTube video in the morning, I came across this in the afternoon at that hobby shop. It's called Milepost Hobbies. Now the thing is that this is not. It's not on an exact prototype. There is a prototype, but the thing is, it's more of the tender and basically the boiler and the front end. Basically, it's the same superstructure and tender of this mold, which is modeled after a full-size prototype. The Sierra number 3. That's why if you look on the front, they all have 3s on them, because they molded the number 3 on there. This one, since this has been modified, does not have a 3 on there. It looks like it has a 50 on there. But all the reason why they all have 3s is because they're modeled after the Sierra number 3, which is, I believe, in the Guinness Book of World Records as the most photographed locomotive. It's been in the Sierra number 3 has been in pretty much in a lot of movies and TV shows. And if you go on the Wikipedia, it shows all the different railroads that were or TV shows that it was in. And I just recently looked at it, and there was some in there that sort of surprised me that there was like, wait, this was in this, uh, in this TV show, and it's like, well, it's supposed to be a modern TV show. How does an older steam locomotive get into it? But as you get as you can see between everything, it has the uh, uh, basically all those small little details like the generator and all that are all the same. So we'll flip it on this side, and of course lost the front coupler, which is okay. But if we flip it, you can still see that it has the bell, the air pump, air brakes, and all that. So it's basically the top is the same. It's just that it has a different drive mechanism. So I've actually gotten a thing is right now it takes approximately for this it takes about two separate locomotives to get rid of the rubber tires on. So it's all steel wheels. And with this one, it looks like it's going to take two locomotives to do the same thing because of the rubber tires on these. The interesting thing is that the blind driver on the 10-wheeler is on the front, and on the 12-wheeler, the blind drivers are on the back. But eventually, I want to see about making every. Not quite sure if I want to stay with this particular type locomotive. It might be, since I'm doing a very small railroad, maybe that locomotive might be too big for what I'm doing. But at the Historical Society, I wound up picking up something that is very interesting. And it is this one. It's a book, Dining by Rail, The History and the Recipes of America's Golden Age of Railroad Cuisine by James D. Porterfield, which from what I understand, he had this gentleman had a long-standing articles in, I think it was said Rail Fan magazine or something like that. I forgot which particular one and all that. And it's the first part is basically going through the history, how the dining car became a thing. And the interesting thing is that the railroads actually started more, in this era of like the canals, they would have a place to eat next to the railway station. For those who know the story about the Great Locomotive Chase, it was one of these trackside diners that the chase started at. And the interesting thing is that they did have places for, I think there was there is talk in here somewhere where it the first part is sort of like the station restaurant and how things were done that way. It's the thing is that let's see, trying to get on and off and all that. It's a little wonder that passengers rejected the railroad term meal stop prefer to call it an indigestion stop. But I have barely looked through this. I sort of like pawed through it, but it's showing all these different things. So this is the meals, the different meal stops. But there is, what was it now? And this is the Harvey houses and the Harvey establishments. So apparently, it was a chain of restaurants that yeah, the chain of restaurants that was before McDonald's. And then there's then the second chapter is about the dining car itself, which incidentally not only they show pictures and patents and stuff and all that. Originally, there were there were initially two types of dining cars. You had the hotel car, which was a sleeping car that had everything. It was basically a hotel on wheels. However, it didn't have sleeping berths, but apparently the restaurant car did have sleeping berths also. But then again, as things got more and more complicated, they wound up having the dining car, the buffet car, the cafe car, the grill room car, cafe observation car, dining and parlor car, all these different variations of the same thing by 1919. And then they go into drawings and how they were set up. Some of these cars that were on long distance trips, they were set up more as almost like something that you would have like a luxury hotel. They even got to the point where in 1953 they had what was called a twin unit, where it was two cars together. Yes, that is a Borders bookmark, Dan. This is actually using it between section 1 and section 2. Section 2 is actually these are the different recipes of different particular ones. Here's one for chapter 9 is for the Canadian Pacific. Yeah, Canadian Pacific yellow pea soup. Queen Virginia sweet potato soup. It's sort of odd on a Canadian railway, but that's the name of it. Fish au gratin Italian style. Coconut rock. Let's see, this one's for Canadian National, the other Canadian. Stuffed calf's liver. My assumption is that some of the tastes that the modern palate might be slightly different than the Santa Fe Railroad or the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe for the ones for the longer ones and all that. Let's see. We'll go well with my series of full frontal. Not nudity, but the locomotives face forward. Yeah. Okay. Series of watercolors. Okay. That makes the last sentence make more sense. But as I said, the first part does go into the different styles. In some cases, how as I said, I haven't really looked through the whole entire thing, but that's interesting. Language of the dining car, often coded communication with each other. That makes sense. I think I think um, every place has this sort of uh, inside joke language, or not necessarily jokes, but people are on the inside. They uh, know it's someone can say something, and people in the whatever industry will be able to go, "Oh, okay, that we understand." It's the chapter 4 is for the dining car personnel. This is something how to check for different supplies and etc., which is sort of kind of interesting. I'm half tempted to send some of these recipes to my sister and all that because she loves cooking. And yeah, it's like different an egg poacher, burling iron, some of the tools, some of the equipment that that dining cars had. Here it's showing putting water into the fresh water into the tanks in the roof, preparing other stuff and all that. But yeah, this is a very interesting book. Um, I am going to see about looking for the articles that this guy did, uh, and be able to, maybe read more stuff about dining cars. Yes, it is definitely a rabbit hole, Dan. There's That's one thing about model railroading. There are many, many, many different rabbit holes to go down. Um, Actually, a bunch of my hobbies that I do have sort of revolve around uh, model trains. Uh, I also play with electronics, which modern model trains are heavily based on. Um, I'm thinking about getting into. Uh, I have tried machining a couple of times. I'm thinking about maybe uh, picking that up again. Again, that sort of goes around model trains also. That's why I went with Happy Valley Hobbies, mainly because they're. I'm not just a guy that does a single hobby. You get to a point where you're uh, some of the ones, some of the different railroads have been talking about burnout, and one had to do with I think it was second section podcast. Did a whole thing about what to do when you get burned out with model trains and all that. And I threw in my 2 cents of, well, I just go into it. If I get frustrated, I go to a different hobby for a short time, and then um, play with that for a while, and then eventually come around to playing with model trains again. So let's see how well this is doing. Fortunately, the glue that was on here is going to wind up not taking. I don't know if it's a good or bad thing. The glue that gets on the tiles, or on the tiles, on the shakes, we're going to turn around and make it so the um, stain won't go in. But that might wind up being advantageous because then shows new and the old. At least that's my story, and that's what I'm sticking with. That goes in, close this up. So I also wound up joining the Rutland Historical Society, mainly to find out, the history around where I'm at. Not only the railroad history, but also uh, the history of the area in general. Okay, next level. Already starting to peel up. But yeah, one of the things if you're trying, sometimes if you're trying to, uh, sometimes you can't find a good way to clamp stuff and all that. Like what I'm having with the the shingles. Um, I forgot what it was, but somebody had some other ones had a suggestion of if I remember correctly, it was like beans or something like that. Get like split peas and all that, and just lay them doing what I'm doing here. But one of the things I'm thinking with these particular rocks is actually use them for part of the roadbed. And it's one of those things of I'm like, hey, I have rocks, so which are slightly heavier than peas. So I went that direction. Um, as you can see, this is the slow drying process because what happens is that the one side gets wet and expands and it wants to curl like this. That's why I'm thinking the next time I do this, I'll use double-sided tape and go that specific direction. One thing the hunter, I did ask about different other styles of cover bridges. And Rick Hunter, who designed the bridge, did say that there were different styles and types. And found out that they're planning on taking their How Truss bridge and turning that into a covered bridge. Right now they're moving, so there's no plans at this particular point in time, but there is a consideration of turning around and making a How Truss bridge. How Truss covered bridge, which is whereas this style of bridge is more for the early days of railroading. One of the things of the reason for the cover bridges is to make the bridge last longer. And I also asked the question about painting and all that, because painting makes buildings last longer and all that. And that's one of the things of, I wish I had asked the question earlier, because instead of staining this, I would have actually painted the outside, basically, because that made the bridge last longer, because it made the outside sheathing last longer, hence it made the bridge itself last longer. And that's why they became popular until steel bridges came around. But this is another thing from the Historical Society. Their newsliner. I bought it because, well, I'm in Bennington County, and it had the Bennington County Co-op Creamery. So I went and looked into that. And apparently this Bill Badger is local. He lives in Manchester. And this particular building is in Manchester. I actually, after looking at these pictures of the creamery, trying to find out where it is. But the interesting thing is that the building is still standing, but the front facade, from my understanding, they built a building in front of this, so it no longer looks like this. This is the roadside of the building, and this is the roadside of the building. This is the rail side of the building. You can't see the rail side of the building from any location because the railroad is here, and then on the other side is the Battenkill River, and so there's no way to see the back end of it. The picture I have seen from it is that's still there on top of the building. That's how I was able to identify it. But now they wound up building in front of it, so that's why it doesn't look like what's in these pictures. Apparently, this ice house was a temporary structure that's no longer there. But I believe it's a storage. I want to say it's a storage house for a electrical contractor. I think. I didn't write it down because I wasn't planning on telling people about it. But and then haven't read anything else of this so far. But I looked at all the different pretty pictures. This shows a junction that was between the Rutland and Burlington in Bristol Falls. But so if anyone is, I guess, interested in the Rutland Railroad, there is a historical society. I'm more interested in the Bennington and Rutland, which was one of the railroads they wound up buying. Of course, they would have this much smaller locomotives because of the air. And ooh, that's interesting. A freight waybill. And how much? What it was? How much it weighed? What the rate was? 33.2 cents. I'm assuming that's 33.2 cents, not $33 and yeah, I would have to say it'd be 33 cents point two because that winds up being yeah, it costs $200 to move it, so yeah, it's like basically where it's coming from, where it's going to. That's pretty much. If anyone does like FedEx or UPS and all that, actually a lot of the paperwork actually looks very similar to that. Because that's where I'm working at now, and we do a lot of stuff with UPS and FedEx. But we also do stuff with ABF, Old Dominion freight lines. So those are when we need an actual full trailer or something like that, we go that direction. But it's also very similar to, yeah, it doesn't say length of car and all that, etc. It's basically, hey, we need a container, preferably a high cube, and go from there. So, and there's an interesting one where you got a it's like a combine cart. But I'm looking at this going like, where's the steps? Yeah, those steps seem to be missing. Uh, yeah, they show different steps. It's the engine house in Bellows Falls, which is sort of kind of interesting because there's a diamond in front of it beforehand. And it shows the turntable where apparently there used to be another bay on there, so it's knocked off. So now we got 1, 2, 4. Let's see. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is an after. Yeah, 46. This is after 936. So that makes sense why it only has 4 bays, not 5. One of the interesting things that shows the house boiler number 5 is actually boiler from engine 41. So it's like that's how they got around that. And it says Rutland main track. So seeing this here suggests that the main track is over here. So I'm not quite sure what's going on the front. I don't know. I honestly don't know that much about the Rutland. But it is one of those things of, since I'm interested in the railroad that basically runs by my house, that's why I'm getting more interested in the Rutland Railroad. So I joined up with them to meet people and all that. That's another thing is that now that we are, I guess, slowly coming out of a pandemic, it makes more sense to turn around and see about meeting people. Let's see how this is going. Like it was going very well until I took up the weight, and of course everything's like. So yeah, once I took the weight off, it just wants to just pop all over the place. So let's get third one down. Yeah, the only thing that didn't curl is the one that's only 3 long. So those are my current misadventures. What are other people's misadventures?
All right, so I'm getting close to the end, but yeah, one of the things that after this misadventure with this bridge, my plans are learning to actually turn around and hand lay track. My little layout needs 7 switches. The way I look at it is, getting getting one of these jigs makes sense if you do want to do more than 8 switches. Then it becomes a little bit more cost effective. Anything lower than that, it gets icky. But the reason why I'm buying this because I want to be able to learn on how to hand lay track, and 7 is close enough. And the thing is that you can do 3 different styles. The ones that they show on their website and etc. is either hinged, that's what the H is for, or solid. I'm planning on doing the solid for the main switches. For the side switches, I'm going to go with hinged. And for the siding, or for the runaround siding, and then for the quote yard, I'm going to see about doing it's a 2-track yard, so it's only 1 switch, but 1 switch is a stub switch, just because. They don't really show, there's no video on how to do a stub switch, but they do have a PDF file on how to do a stub switch using their jigs. Which I think it's basically you go all the way to here. Probably going to go use everything from here to here, and then start a track here, and then this section would go different, go slide back and forth. They do sell a stub switch jig, but it's in 3 foot, not standard gauge. So that is not a way I can go on that one. But well, I guess I can talk for the last 15 minutes of where the bridge is going after I get it done. The scene is partially completed. But I'm not sure if it's going to be in frame, but this is what it looks like at this point. Not quite too happy in how this is set up, but it is one of those things of turning around, learning to practice, and that's why I'm doing dioramas right now, is to practice. And this is the version I built it for this. Might still keep this one because I'm not quite sure where this one fit. No, it won't fit. Yeah, I just have to realize I made this one longer because I had the parts to do so, and that's what I did. So this is going to get its own diorama. It's close, but not close enough. So turn around and make its own diorama for this. Probably something very similar. I do have another base
Yeah, as well. Bridges make sense going over water. But also with this, I did get the stockade and the point form. Seemed to be the smart way to go that direction. Far enough. You know, the stockade and the fast tracks. And my Google Drive decided to go, oh, I'm going to right in the middle of the screen. I thought I crossed that out. Or turn the drive off, but apparently he decided to come back up. So, but it looks like tonight's going to be a relatively quick one. You know, waiting for glue and all that fun stuff. That's another thing is that showing them on the. All right. All right. Well, thank you for showing up, Mike B. It was about 10 minutes ago that message came in. So, all right, let's turn that off. Let's go back here. Yeah, that's one of the disadvantages of how my setup is that I can't really see the chat too well. Let's see. Sync and save data. This work. All right, it looks like it works that way. All right, I gotta remember to do that next time, is to turn around and hit the zoom and make it bigger so I can actually read it from a distance. So it's one of those things of slowly learning all the fun things that need to be done, you know, and finding out what technical difficulties. I'm not quite on top of everything because it's one of those things of I did this channel, you know, something to do during the pandemic, and then I did something silly and got employed. So I haven't really been on top of things, making sure that like things like promoting, you know, hit the like button and subscribe and all that fun stuff. But it looks like I'm getting I guess a small loyal crew, and it's very appreciated. And I do know that New Tracks Modeling is coming out with a new format, or not another new show, where they're going to be interviewing people, and they're using StreamYard instead of Zoom. So it's more of only the people who have the links can actually get on. It's not like the current format where it's like you have a whole bunch of people on Zoom talking about it. So it's going live on YouTube. But you can only it looks like you can only, you're not on it, but I mean, the only way to interact is through the chat. So there's no longer the ability to have a live question, which I think a lot of the guys that are on there, they don't interact anyway. So it's one of those things of maybe this might be a better move for them. I don't know.
Unfortunately, that new time slot that they're aiming for is the same exact time slot that I'm on. So if I believe not many people are watching new tracks modeling. So there's well, except for Dan. Dan is a moderator for New Tracks Modeling, so I'm not quite sure if he's helping out with that particular show or not. That's the only person I could see that might wind up jumping ship, but hey, it happens and all that. I mean, when I started this channel, I did not know well, I had plans, but then when I got hired, those plans went out the window. So, and but it's one of those things of I'm just still going along, and my current plan right now is to do every Thursday and say hi, and this is what I'm doing. And that's what my current plan is. I think as I get more, I don't want to say comfortable with the new job. I'm getting to the point where it's getting routine, which I guess is a good thing. I'm not as tired when I get home, which is good. So I think I can actually start concentrating a little bit more of, what do I want to do with this channel. Right now, it's sort of still up in the air. I'm still plugging on, doing what I've been doing. Now I think I need to actually figure out how to actually set it up where people can get notifications ahead of time. Oh, you are not working on it. All right. So, but the thing is, I would say with me, it's one of those things of I want to watch it, but to support Jim and everybody else that does a good job with New Tracks modeling, but at the same time, it's like, I can't do two things at once. I'm not that good. But it took a while to figure out where I wanted to do the live stream. So I don't know if I want to. I don't know if I want to move it to Friday because right now my new workplace, it's a four-day work week, from 6 to 4:30, with Fridays, half of Friday being any overtime that we need to do. So that leaves Friday afternoon. So I don't know. It's now I know a lot of people are sort of, since I've been doing Thursdays for so long, would anyone be opposed to me moving to Friday? It's one of those things of with Friday, it's like, everyone is, I don't think there's that many people that do Friday, because usually, people will go, hey, it's Friday, time to, do something, especially outside. I'd also possibly, if I do move to Friday, it will be later, because of all right. Well, I do have a plan with the locomotives. However, I don't have the tools to what I want to do with them. So that's going to be delayed a little bit until I get the tools that I want, which now I feel safe to actually buy now, because what I'm planning on buying is not cheap. And I can only guess what the freight costs are going to be. Do Friday early. Vinny does Friday at 8 p.m. Yeah, that's one thing I'm trying to figure out is how to share it. And the thing is that sharing is one of the things I gotta be disciplined is one setting everything up a little bit earlier. The because right now it's basically 15 minutes beforehand. Oh, we'll schedule the Zoom meeting. I should schedule the Zoom meeting a lot sooner, and then maybe uh, figure out how to set the reminder saying, hey, I'm planning on being live at this time, and etc. So I gotta figure out how to do that, so I can actually schedule, and then I'll be able to turn around and promote it, saying that, hey, I'm going to be doing this at this time. So sort of like what New Tracks is doing now, what Heath at Humanity Junks has been doing. I think Anthony, you've been doing premieres that way, not necessarily the live stuff. Uh, then that's another thing I gotta concentrate on also is learning how to edit and all that fun stuff, because what I want to do with the locomotives, that's going to probably require doing it not live. Yeah, that's what I'm probably aiming for with doing stuff like that, is doing that not live and going along those directions. Um, one of the reasons why I've been doing the live stuff is that it's easy. It's like, all right, schedule the thing, hit live and go, and what happens happens. With editing, it's like, oh, there's a mistake here. It's like it takes a little bit longer, I would think, to make things make them flow a little bit easier. Um, I might have to ask help with my sister help with that, because she's a theater major, so she has a clue on uh well, not necessarily TV, which this is basically, I want to say, a version of TV, uh, where she would actually be doing more of the live stuff, but she has technically her own YouTube channel, but apparently after she got married, she sort of stopped doing it. But her channel is Miller's Making Something, and she was doing for a while. She started out doing oh, trying to think. I don't know exactly what they're called, but she would take like a date planner and add stickers and drawings and stuff like that to pretty them up and all that. Which, it's like I did my best to support her and all that, but I'm like going like, you know, you're taking away the functionality of being able to write stuff down by putting stickers all over it. That's just me. Um, but I don't know. She'll pick it up again. I don't know, but maybe throwing some recipes at my sister of the dining car and all that. She'll turn around and go, ooh, well, she'll pivot to a cooking show. Who knows? Well, it is now 8:04. All right. I'm not sure who is in. Well, thank you, Dan. I think I got over my stage fright with helping out with New Tracks modeling, because it it was live. I might have been behind the scenes, but it was still live. So that's why I'm not as. I don't think I had the stage fright because of that. I'm trying to think now. Because I mean, there was one time that I was at uh, the chapter president of the Junior Chamber of Commerce of Saratoga Springs, and one of the things that, as a my responsibility is there was a spelling bee once a year, and it was basically turn around and judge the spelling bee, but also give a small speech to begin with. And what happened was, it's like, all right, this is what I want to say. Is so I'm in the back trying to, do what has to be done and all that. And being a chapter president, also you're in control of the meeting, so you're in front of people, but it's usually people that you know. This is the first time I was speaking in front of strangers, and I knew exactly what I want to say, and then I was introduced, so I wound up walking up to the podium and all that. By the time I got to the podium, I'm shaking like a leaf, going like, "What's going on here?" And I had a hard time actually trying to speak. One of the things I wanted to get across is that adults have more of a fear of public speaking than they do of death, and that they should turn around and be proud that they're doing something that adults are scared to do. And actually, I had one of the parents come after me later on saying that you're right, dude. I would never do it. But after that, I want to say my public, I'm like, that's the worst thing I've ever done. Doing everything else is sort of kind of on the easy part. And I was one of the salutatorians when I went to college after the 2008 crash. Basically, I wound up going back to college, wound up being a salutatorian, and did my speech and all that. I was the only one that was. I was the only salutatorian that was not in a. I was more in the technical field doing electricity and electronics, whereas everyone else was doing networking and all that. So they had a lot of sales, presentations that they had to do. Whereas, us is like, we need to fix things. Public speaking was not part of them. But yeah, I wound up giving that speech, and unfortunately, the tassel kept on going into my mouth. I'm like, all right, never mind, just keep on going. And I think probably that night afterwards, I have joined up with Toastmasters for a short time, which was a good was a good experience. I don't think there's any clubs around here. I know there's a club that's in Clifton Park, which is about an hour away. But the way gas prices are doing, nope. But I think I have something to give. I guess I'm doing a decent job because, I do have Mike, Dan, Anthony, rail artist. You keep on coming back every week and all that, and I thank you. There's a lot of times that I see things that where they say, "Oh, I feel so humbled" and all that. And for a while, it's like, yeah, they're putting on something, and then it's like, maybe they're not. So maybe the internet is not as fake as sometimes it seems to be. But it's now 8:10. Thanks for everyone for coming. I think the world needs a little bit more love. So find your passion, add some silliness to it, and spread it around. So good night, everyone.